to call this meeting of the Villa Park Village Board to order. It's November 23rd at 7 p.m. Clerk Krenecki, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Salela. Trustee Kazone.
Here.
Trustee Murphy. Here. Trustee Patrick.
Here.
Trustee Tucker.
Here.
Trustee Wagner.
Here.
President Bolthus.
Here. We'll move on to public comments on agenda items. Manager Keener, are you on board?
Yes, Your Honor. I do have one to read into the public record.
Okay.
He's muted.
You're muted, Rich.
So, Your Honor, Board, it says, please read into comments. Village Board meeting on November 23rd, item 8C, the petition for a tent at 324 East Central Business. And this email, Your Honor, I received at 6:55 p.m. from Tracy Gabriel. It says, hello, Manager Keener. Thank you for reading into the official record my recommendation for the location of the temporary tent from November 1st through April 30th. I would recommend option 1 as presented in Exhibit 1 for the following reasons. For the record, which is the alternate location to where the tent is currently located, specifically the location between the two buildings. Number 1, the option 1 location does not impair the ability for vehicles to see traffic coming from the east to the west. Number 2, the option number 1 location will provide the opportunity for the fuel sign to be reinstalled, which is a requirement of village ordinances for a business to have proper signage. Number 3, the option 1 location provides a lower visual nuisance to the residents on Myrtle and Central at the corner. Number 4, the option 1 location would allow for the approved aesthetics, wood panels, and glass doors to be visible, thus inviting customers, therefore increase their tax revenue to the village. Having a white tent and a consistently parked black box truck on the property and the unwrapped storage container is not all that inviting, starting to resemble the makings of a salvage yard, in my opinion. I would like it to be confirmed and stated that the tent is only approved to be used during noted, and there is no provision to request to request a use of the tent or similar covering from May 1st to October 31st. I asked the village board before approving the tent and location to take into consideration that the patrons that will use the tent will be driving vehicles versus walking, and thus parking issues and congestion in the area is still of huge concern. No matter which location is approved by the village, all other outdoor seating and space must still be removed and not utilized as stated in Village Code Section 6.11.2G number 13. An occupancy permit is required prior to the opening of the outdoor seating area. The occupancy permit is valid from March 1st through November 30th and must be renewed annually. All outdoor furniture must be removed within 24 hours of permit expiration. Additionally, please confirm all space inside the tent is clearly noted and defined as outdoor space. Thus, entertainment inside the tent is not permitted. Last question for the board. Would they know when the approved storage container will be wrapped in the same aesthetic materials as the fuel building as agreed during the approval process? Adds to the salvage yard appearance. Thank you, Tracy Gabriel. And Your Honor, I do have an email from Francis O'Byrne, but I believe he's in the audience. Did you want to publicly comment as well and me not read the email?
You can read the email.
So I have another email, Your Honor. It's entitled RE Fuel and Crumb. Attention Village of Villa Park. Attention Village Manager Richard Keener Jr. Dear Mr. Keener, I had the pleasure of attending the Village Zoom Board meeting at Village Hall on Monday, November 9th, 2020. At that time, a number of topics were discussed, including a variance for a tent at Fuel and Creme. I wanted to provide you and the Village of Villa Park trustees with my personal experience with Fuel and Creme. As a brief background, I moved to Villa Park in 2000. I purchased a new home at 726 South Cornell, Villa Park, Illinois. While living at that address, I raised two boys that attended Ardmore School, then Jackson Middle School, and now Willowbrook High School. While my two boys were growing up, I coached and managed Villa Park Youth Baseball, Villa Park Youth Soccer, Villa Park Youth Basketball. I became an assistant scoutmaster with Villa Park Club Pack 122, and thereafter an assistant scoutmaster with Villa Park BSA Troop 199 at St. Alexander Church. I am currently a board member and secretary of the Willowbrook Athletic Booster Club at Willowbrook High School. As an assistant scoutmaster with BSA Troop 199 at St. Alexander Church, I help assist with fundraising for St. Alexander Church, BSA Troop 199, the Knights of Columbus, VFW Hall, Willowbrook High School, etc. 3 or 4 years ago, my son, Charlie Oburn, brought to my attention an ice cream parlor that wanted to open up on the Prairie Path. My son pointed out to me that the only ice cream parlor in Villa Park was Dairy Queen, and that Dairy Queen was closed in the winter. My son participated in the hearings at the village board to address zoning and a permit to open up an ice cream parlor on the Prairie Path. Eventually, the permit and zoning was approved, and my son and his friends frequented Cream, or better known as Creme, on their bicycle. Since I've lived in Villa Park, the church on the corner of Cornell and Highland Community Congregational Church sold pumpkins as the church fundraiser for Halloween. BSA Troop 199 always volunteered to help unload the pumpkins at the Community Congregational Church. A few years ago, the church announced that they would no longer be selling the pumpkins as their membership dropped and would possibly be closing the church. One of the church members asked BSA Troop 199 if they were interested in taking over the pumpkin sales as a fundraiser for the troop. We thought that would be a great idea, but did not have a location to sell the pumpkins. We approached Fuel and Creme last year about selling pumpkins on their property. Jack and Karen Kozar from Fuel and Creme agreed with open arms. Not only did they allow us to sell pumpkins on their property last year, they helped us sell pumpkins at no cost to the troop. 100% of the money raised from pumpkin sales went to the Scouts or St. Alexander Church. This extra money raised by selling pumpkins at Fuel and Creme allowed the girls and Boy Scouts to attend summer camp, as many of the Scouts could not afford the cost in attending summer camp. The troop has limited resources for fundraising, such as selling Christmas wreaths at St. Alexander Church or spaghetti dinner at St. Alexander Church. This year, with COVID-19 restrictions, the troop has been severely limited on their fundraising ability. We again approached Fuel and Creme asking if we could use their property for pumpkin sales and also sell candy, taffy apples, and firewood. Again, Fuel and Creme agreed with open arms. We began selling pumpkins, candy, and firewood at Fuel and Creme on October 2nd and sold through October 31st. The month of October was very cold, which often required some of the Scouts to warm up in the tent. Fuel and Creme has been very accommodating to the Girl and Boy Scouts to allow the troop to engage in fundraising on their property. Thanks to Fuel and Creme, the troop was able to fundraise over $2,000 for the Scouts and $1,000 to the St. Alexander Church. Fuel and Creme is dedicated to assisting the children, youth of Villa Park. I ask that you please allow Fuel and Creme the opportunity to continue to assist the youth and adults of Villa Park by allowing Fuel and Creme a variance for keeping a tent on the property during the COVID-19 winter months. Thank you, Francis Oburn, Assistant Scoutmaster, BSA Troop 199, Villa Park. Your Honor, if you permit me, I'll check my email to see if there's any others. Your Honor, that's all I have at this time.
Is there anyone present in the boardroom wants to make any comments?
I believe Mr. Kozar would like to address the board, Your Honor.
Okay.
Just push the space bar. Yeah.
All right. So as you're all aware, we're here for a variance for the tent, to have the tent during the winter months. We need it to be viable in the winter. I want to thank the board, though, for your consideration on this, for your help throughout the process, and your reasonable solutions that we've talked about and done, especially at the last meeting. I would like to remind the board that we've chosen not to have gaming on our property. It's something that we have the right to, but we don't want to. It doesn't fit who we are and what we're doing on the property. However, we lose revenue as a result. The tent will help us sustain during those winter months. It'll help us keep our staff. And I might add that the majority of our staff live in Villa Park. They're Villa Park residents. The tent is not just something that I want or we want, Karen and I want. It's something that the community wants. I have here over 350 signatures of people that have come onto our property and signed a petition supporting what we're trying to do with the tent. I have 35 plus letters of support from people who support our tent. And not to even mention our over 4,000 followers on Facebook that we haven't even reached out to, but the community wants this as well as us. The bottom line is that we're a local small business. We have a need with a reasonable request and a reasonable solution. I'm asking you as a board to help us, to help this local small business, and in doing so, making Villa Park better. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else, Manager? Anyone else, Manager Keener? Manager Keener?
I do not believe so, Your Honor. I think that's everybody that wanted to comment on public comments on agenda items at this time.
Okay, then we'll move on to item 4 is amendment to the agenda. Does anyone on the board have any amendments to the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 5, which is a budget workshop, and the proposed 12-month budget for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2021 and ending December 31st, 2021 has been on file and conveniently available for public inspection in Village Hall and is on the village website. A public hearing will be held on Monday, December 7th, 2020 at 6:45 p.m. to accept public comments on the proposed fiscal year 2021 budget. Following the public hearing, the first reading of the budget adoption ordinance will be held at the regular board meeting, and the second reading will be adoption ordinance will occur at the board meeting to be held on December 21st. So we'll move on to the operations presentation, Manager Keener.
Thank you, Your Honor. Before I turn it over to Finance Director Scheibel, I was going to do a little background and a little brief discussion as well, Your Honor and Board. So for everyone's background, our budget for the Village of Villa Park is on a calendar year basis. So it's going to be January 1st, 21 through December 31st, 21. The budget, as President Bolthuis mentioned, is on the village's website underneath the finance section. And it's also here at Village Hall down in the vestibule. It's a hard copy version to review. The budget process tonight, we held the Truth and Taxation public hearing earlier. This evening is our budget workshop in which operations and capital projects will be presented. On December 7th, the public hearing for the budget will be at 6:45. And then on that same evening, December 7th, the first reading of the budget will occur for approval of the budget, the capital plan, and the tax levy. And then on December 21st, the second reading of the budget and tax levy and capital plan for approvals as well. And then if approved, the budget will be filed with DuPage County on or before the last Tuesday of the month in December. So, Your Honor and Board, the fiscal year 2021 or calendar year budget, if you will, we've put together a conservative budget taking into consideration the COVID pandemic and its uncertainties. This budget is very conservative, and at certain times during the fiscal year 21 budget, amendments will be provided for the board to consider, including capital purchases. So as you've reviewed the budget for the last few days, weeks, etc., you've probably noticed that the capital projects are very slim to none. And that's because we've taken a very conservative approach with this particular budget and trying to balance it. It's been very difficult. As I've mentioned before, the deficient part of the budget was $2.4 million when we first started. And then Director Scheibel and myself and others reduced the budget to 1.5 million deficit. And then finally, we balanced the budget with a little over 100,000 in revenues over expenditures. And I provided a memo and to you that described the ways that we brought the budget into balance. There's vacancies, there's certain things that are reduced within the budget. The budget is also planned to be balanced by using the sale of the property at 325 East North Avenue. As you're aware, Your Honor and Board, I believe we have a closing on that on January 4th, and hopefully we'll use our past expenditures to bring those TIF funds into the general fund and to reimburse ourselves as naturally we can do per the TIF Act. And so jumping ahead to Director Scheibel's summary page on the PowerPoint, the fiscal year 2021 budget, if it performs the way we believe, should have a projected 151 days of fund balance on hand. It's going to address our capital needs. Also, Director Guerrero will present the 5-year capital plan, water and sewer enterprise funds, etc., this evening as well. So we're still investing in infrastructure. And by that, it's our 50-50 sidewalk program. It's our ADA sidewalk program. It's our roads, water and sewer utilities as well. So we're moving forward and funding our key initiatives while being fiscally responsible. So we've leveraged our capital dollars. We've maintained great relationships with our elected officials at the state level to see when their caucuses will release some of the 2020 capital bill money that could further provide additional initiatives as well in fiscal year 21. We've contained and lowered costs, and I believe that you'll notice in the PowerPoint presentation that Director Scheibel will show you shortly that staff has controlled expenditures for fiscal year 2020 as the pandemic still rages on. So with our departments, we've cooperated between departments and have done so over the years. And we work with other governments as well to keep our costs down. And so, Your Honor, Board, we're definitely planning for the future and moving forward in a very conservative, watchful manner for the fiscal 2021 budget. So at this time, Your Honor, Board, I'd like to introduce Director Scheibel, and she's going to step to the podium and then share the screen and go through the PowerPoint presentation that she's put together. And then, Your Honor and Board, as we've done in the past, both PowerPoint presentations that we discussed this evening will be placed on our website for full public view, along with the FY 2021 proposed draft budget at this time. So, Marlene, it's yours.
Marlene, you're muted. You could probably either hold the space bar or on the bottom left on the microphone. No.
Thank you. So the budget's prepared under the direction of the village board that involves guidance from goal setting sessions and other discussions of board priorities. We have continued capital investments in streets, water, wastewater, stormwater infrastructure. That's funded through bond funds, low interest loans, and our non-home rule sales tax. We have minimal investment in equipment using rollover bond proceeds, and we're focusing on cost-effective and efficient services. We will maintain existing services. We have tree trimming and removals will remain in the budget, continued investment in sidewalks, the 50/50 program expenses. There's a major focus on economic development, especially the key corridors, as the economic development helps us raise revenues. We have an implementation and refinement of technology for more accurate and efficient operations. We're always looking for better ways to do things. The total revenues by funds. There's $58,312 revenue without transfers. And this slide shows how those revenues are divided up by fund. So the general fund is our largest fund, and that receives 36% of total revenues. And that's really the fund that we have our operating expenses in. And then we have wastewater fund, which is 15% of the revenues. Water is 14%, street improvements is 4%, and all other funds are 31%. This slide shows total revenues by source. So our property tax and our sales tax is projected to be about equal for 2021. And then we have state shared revenues, other taxes, license permits and fees, service charges, interest income, bond proceeds, and all other. Our interest income in the past has provided us a nice source of revenue in 18 and 19, particularly in FY19. But due to the lower interest rates and bond dollars being down, that's really not the case anymore. So the interest income hasn't provided us in 2020 and 2021 what it had provided us in FY19. Our total expenditures by fund are $66,054,576. That's without transfers. And just like the revenues, our general fund is the biggest piece of those expenditures at 32% of the total. The wastewater is 14%, water is 13%, street improvements 12%, and all others 29%. Expenditures by source. Salaries is a big piece of our expenditures, as well as the contributions piece is the piece to the IMRF and Social Security. So that's part of the salaries and compensation. We have contractual expenditures, debt service, commodities, and capital outlay. Contractual services are up for 2021 as we anticipate doing some work on Jackson Pond. The 2020 general fund overview, we project to have an ending balance at the end of 2020 of $9,520,516. And that equates to 155 days of expenses on hand. The projected surplus, which is the revenues over the expenditures, is projected to be $582,237. The projected revenues are 1.7 lower than budgeted, and projected expenditures are 4.9 lower than budgeted. And that expenditure reduction is across all categories. The general fund for 2021, the projected fund balance is $9,621,347, and that equates to 145 days of the fund balance on hand. We're projecting $23,297,966 in revenue and $23,197,136 in total outflows. That includes a transfers out of $1,468,659 to parks, recreation, swim pool, equipment replacement, and building improvement funds. The general fund revenue is projected to be $23,297,966. Changes in our projections is we projected a small growth in sales tax, video gaming tax, building permits, and reductions in liquor licenses, parking permits, parking fees, and interest income. So the general fund revenue is 1.3% over what we projected for 2020. The general fund expenditures, we have a balanced general fund. We will maintain current services, funding priority initiatives such as street maintenance, tree trimming and removals, and economic development. We're continuing operating transfers for parks, recreation, and pools. The total expenditures and transfers are $23,197,436, which is a 3.5% increase from 2020 projected. The ending fund balance is projected to be $9,621,347, and this includes our $700,000 in the working cash fund. The daily cost of operations is $63,554, so we have a projected 151 days of fund balance on hand. Vehicles and equipment. We included in the budget 2 heart rate monitors, defibrillators, and police body cams from the DUI funds. And we deferred later in the year the 3 police squads, PW vehicle, park maintenance truck, and the contribution to the fire apparatus reserve. And part of these vehicles and equipment will be funded using rollover bonds. Some initiatives we are continuing funding for tree trimming, funding for sidewalk funds in the 50/50 program, major capital spending from bonds, grants, and IEPA loans. We continue to seek grants for projects in the bike and pedestrian plan, and we're positioning for the future, strategic plan, website and technology for customer-driven service for permits and forms, and economic development. Issues to watch. Revenue changes or opportunities. The recreational adult use cannabis is a new revenue opportunity. We have a new dispensary. We have no information yet on the sales for this year. And we also are watching the Illinois graduated tax proposal failed. So we are questioning, will this have an impact on state shared revenues in the future? Pensions, investments for the pensions are being consolidated. So that's one step moving forward, but not a full solution. And we must remain focused on economic development and major capital projects. The pension contributions are growing at an alarming rate. This slide shows that pensions are taking up more of our tax levy each year. 10 years ago, pensions were about 45% of the tax levy, and this year they're about 73% of the tax levy. So our 2020 levy estimate for pensions is $3.6 million, which is a 10.5% increase over 2019. Additional issues and initiatives, we continue to monitor the state of Illinois for future changes, pension funding, leveraging capital bill dollars, stormwater projects, including rear yard drainage projects, maximizing use of facilities and village-owned land, and the budget was developed considering the impacts of COVID-19 for both 2020 and 2021. In summary, we have projected 151 days fund balance on hand. We address some capital needs. We're investing in infrastructure, solving problems and improving the quality of life, funding key initiatives, and we're fiscally responsible, leveraging capital dollars, containing and lowering costs, cooperating among departments, and working with other governments whenever possible, and planning for the future. Are there any questions at this time, or?
Let's have any questions on this portion on operations, if anybody has any. I'd like to just make one comment. I noticed on your slide on the pension contribution, the growth growing at a alarming rate, the difference between the pension and how it's affecting our operation costs. And those lines are going in the wrong direction. They're getting farther apart. And that's one item that I always notice on our budget, because in the long range, to meet the requirements, we're going to have some big problems down the road. So, and I also want to make a comment, we mentioned that this was a conservative budget. We made some accommodations for the lost income and the like, but I'm reading it over. I sort of get the idea that if everything goes well, as we hope, we'll be in good shape. But if there's something that comes up that we can't foresee for the future, which would affect our revenue sources, some of these items may be changing. So that's my impression by reading over the presentation. So does anybody else have any questions? Trustee Wagner.
Thank you, President Bulthus. I appreciated that big picture view of our budget. One question regarding the projected fund balance. So the projected fund balance is projected for 2021 will be higher than the one for 2020, yet the days on hand are less. Why is that?
Because our expenses would be more during that year, so that would drive up that would lower the days available.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Trustee Tucker.
I just have a general question. I mean, we're dealing with COVID-19 right now, and we don't know what the funding will be. I know you conservatively try to put it through. I take it this budget's going to have to be changed as we go along. It's going to be like a flowing budget because of that, because we don't know what the state's going to give us and everything else. Is this budget taken into that consideration, or are you going to have to tweak it as we go along through the year on what COVID's doing?
Well, this budget at this point is as we know things today. So we've projected conservatively, but we don't know the future. And so we do plan to do a budget amendment early in the year next year as we see how things proceed.
And how soon will we have to do that? It depends on what the state does and what COVID line is that where it comes in?
I think it really depends on the revenues and as we move forward, how quickly we see things coming back.
I think it also is going to depend on how much the state wants to dip into our pocket to help them balance their budget. That's a real concern now when they, with the tax increase or leveling it off or taxing the wealth more didn't pass. They're going to be looking for some of our money, I'm sure. So some of the things that we maybe had planned on that we'd be getting in grants, we may not be getting. Manager Keener, he had his hand up.
Thank you, Your Honor. Those are comments I was going to make. For those of you that are not familiar with myself and Director Scheibel, we meet once a week and we talk about the village's expenditures and revenues so that we have a keen handle on what's taking place in not only our region, but across the United States and especially here around us so that we can kind of keep our thumb on the revenues, expenditures of the village so that we can monitor those weekly, monthly, and so that at the end of the year, it's just not out of control, it's not out of balance. And so, you know, I'd like to commend our staff that, as you learned from Director Scheibel, that our expenditures for FY20 are 4.9% below budget. So staff has done an excellent job controlling costs. And Your Honor and Board, just because this budget is passed in late December and implemented January 1, we're still going to keep the spending policies in effect that we have now that, quite frankly, if you don't need it, we're not buying it until we're assured that the revenues will be there to provide a stream to pay for any type of invoices that we have. So we're going to go into 2021 very conservatively and cautiously. Thank you, Your Honor.
Yeah, this was a real hard job on the staff to put this budget together to, you know, cut out a couple $1 million of normal expenditures. So really got to thank staff for all their work and all the department heads for all the work that they put into their budgets for their respective departments. So anyone else have a question? Trustee Wagner.
I assume that there was some sort of forecast with revenue from recreational cannabis. How did we?
We didn't get that, Bob.
Okay. I assume that there was sort of forecasts as to what possibly we might get in terms of revenue from recreational cannabis. Did we just use examples from other communities, or how did we figure that?
Your Honor, the podium won't come off on mute, so I'm going to switch places with Director Scheibel for a second.
Okay.
Thank you, Manager. So the information, we actually used the information from the dispensary that opened, when they opened up their projections, as well as conservatively looking at that. We have received no information yet on their sales because they opened at the end of September, early October, and we only have information on sales in Villa Park through the end of September. So we have no information yet. So we used information that they provided us, but also our insight into what we conservatively, again, because we're keeping the entire budget conservative.
Thank you.
The cannabis outfit, they gave us, you know, what their projections were, but now we see there's another dispensary right around the corner behind Pete's. So how that'll affect their estimates are unknown at this time. So.
Thank you.
Trustee Kazone.
Going back to the cannabis, how is that gonna affect the budget, since that money, 2/3 of it's earmarked for pensions and 1/3 earmarked for future recreational, it's going into that fund. How is that taken into consideration in this budget?
Well, it will help with the tax levy that we would need to provide for the pensions, since they will receive some funding from those sources. Do you have anything to add to that, Rich, or manager?
So the sales tax funding from cannabis would be extra.
Okay.
I'm not sure if that came over.
So actually, the revenue that we receive from the cannabis that's designated for the pensions and the rec funds, those would be in addition to the levy amount that we provide. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, that was kind of my understanding on that. I didn't think it was actually included, but whatever we get is just going to be added to the pension fund then.
Correct.
That's good. Thank you.
Anyone else? Trustee Tucker.
Just one more question on, I know we're getting funds from DuPage County on that. Is that going to be something that's going to be carried on because of the pandemic, that they'll have more funds in the future of it when it's coming, or is that just a one-time thing?
That's a one-time thing that we should receive, that's in the budget for 2020. We have it included in our figures for 2020.
So that it's not a future thing for 2021 that we can expect anything down the line for that?
There are some FEMA public assistance grants that we can apply for in 2021.
Okay. Again, it would be just as it goes along type thing, hopefully to assist us on what the state takes away. We might have other ways to add to it. Is that
That's correct.
for the future? Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, you want to move on to the capital projects?
Thank you, Your Honor. Director Guerrero is approaching the podium, and we'll be sharing the screen and bringing up the shared screen for the capital projects and enterprise funds as well.
Thank you, Manager. What we have presenting is the capital plan, and what we'll cover over is also the streets, the water and wastewater, stormwater, and other capital projects. I can get this to advance. There we go. In order to kind of cover what will proceed in the future, it would be nice to go over what we've actually achieved this year with our capital plan. This past year, we've got several projects completed. Included in that is our Streets 2020, which was part of that's the Park Avenue. 4 alleys were reconstructed. Then also we had split off Plymouth Street improvement from Villa to Ardmore. That was achieved once we received some of the state grant through the DCEO as part of the Rebuild Illinois bonds. Also, we're in the process of wrapping up, hopefully, the Michigan Avenue improvement from Central to Killingworth. That was a separation project where we provided a separate storm sewer on a portion of the project and then reconstructed the street. We did the Astor Myrtle Euclid improvement where we did reconstruction on most of those projects. That was also a separation project where we separated the sewers, and then we also installed the large underground stormwater detention facility to help offset a lot of the stormwater issues located in that area. That was identified with the Christopher Burke study back in 2014. We also then have provided a lot of maintenance. We completed our 2020 rejuvenation program. The rejuvenation program is where we apply reclamite to the streets. We apply this at the streets that are 5 years old to try to provide longer life out of them, to get kind of a sustained life out of the pavement so that we don't have to go back and provide as much reconstruction in the future. We also just completed some pavement markings that was on the access road to Walmart, and then also on Villa Avenue North from St. Charles over to North. And then we're in the process of completing some of the pavement patching still ongoing. A lot of that's on Washington Street, where we're going to replace and patch the pavement where it's failing in several locations. Overall, with all these projects, we completed about 6.6 total miles of streets that either received maintenance or capital improvements in 2020. And also that included about 2.8 miles of sidewalks that were replaced and removed and replaced. So overall, since 2014, we've got about 8.8 miles of sidewalks replaced in the village and about 4 miles of total new sidewalks. Looking into the budget for this upcoming year, we've kind of revised how we're doing the capital plan. Obviously, this year, no one projected COVID and the effects that it had on our funding. So we had to look at prioritizing projects. So moving forward, we are looking at prioritizing projects. That way, if funding all occurs as planned, we can get them completed. If we have allocation issues, fundings that come in with other unanticipated issues, we'll go down in order of the priorities. For the construction next year, we're looking at the first major project is Harvard. That project is funded by CDBG for the water replacement and also referendum funding. That's why it's a priority. We have to spend those CDBG monies within a certain time frame. I believe it's June 30th of 2021. So that project has to get completed. Similarly, 3rd Avenue from Holly Division, that's a sewer separation project with some overlayment. That project does also receive CDBG money from the county. It's the Community Development Block Grant funding. That funding can only be utilized in certain census blocks, and that's how Harvard and 3rd receive those fundings. But again, that one is forecasted. They needed to spend some money a little bit sooner, so they had asked us to bump that project up into 2021 to be completed as soon as possible. So that project is nearly designed and ready for bidding. From there, we have the Maple Area Improvement Projects. If you remember back in May when we had heavy rains and flooding, this was a big problematic area where we received a bunch of complaints, a bunch of issues. This project has been delayed for several years, and this is the one that requires an IEPA loan to separate. This one is designed. We're completing the application for Maple Area to seek that IEPA loan, so that is our number 3 priority. Follow that is Charles Avenue Improvement. This is from St. Charles to Oak. This would be a reconstruction project, also with new water main and a sewer separation project. This was the one that was deferred this year due to funding needed for the water main replacement. And as we get further down into the water fund, we can kind of demonstrate the need for an IEPA loan to pay for the water main in this project. Following that is Harvard, with the first part of Harvard Avenue from Jefferson Park to Plymouth. Those were the only blocks in the census block for the Community Development Block Grant. So this would be to finish out the remainder of Harvard from Plymouth to Ridge. If we have funding available, it makes sense to do the whole segment at one time versus 2 segments in that area. So we'd like to proceed with trying to get the remainder of that road completed. And then we also have Monterey Avenue, Washington to Park. This is a major reconstruction with a sewer separation. This project is needed before we can move on to Washington or Yale or other components down on the south side. And then we're also looking at Wisconsin Street Improvement Project from Vermont to Stone. This is a little bit of a new one. This was included in what we used to call college streets improvements. However, reviewing the college streets, those have been delayed for several years because we need the funding for water main replacement. Wisconsin does not have any water main improvement associated with it, so we can probably move forward with this one as a road improvement project as it's identified in the referendum funding. Moving forward in our 5-year plan, we're looking at completing beginning engineering design for the next round of projects to be completed in 2022 and beyond. The first one is being the Tri-Trail Connector project. This is an off-road non-motorist trail or a bike trail And it's to connect all 3 trails in the community, starting at the Greenway Trail, connecting over to the Great Western, and then down to the Illinois Prairie Path. This project was awarded STP funding from the DuPage Mayors and Managers Council for fiscal year 23. With the federal funding associated with that, we have to begin design engineering, as there's a rather large and lengthy process to go through with IDOT to get all those fundings and plans approved. Similar, we have the Villa Bridge Improvement Program. We received funding for that through the SBR program with IDOT. And again, that's a lengthy IDOT process to get through the design, so we have to begin the beginning design phases for that. From there, we have Myrtle Avenue Project, the Bierman Avenue Project, Wisconsin Improvement, Yale Improvement, Washington Combined Sewer Separation, and then Jackson Street Improvement. Also in the Street Improvement Fund, we'll be looking at maintenance activities. We want to continue with our pavement rejuvenation to keep our pavement in good condition so we don't have to pay more reconstructing. We'll continue with the pavement patching, pavement marking, pavement resurfacing, sign replacement, street light poles as kind of we need to maintain quality roads. Overall, the Street Improvement Fund, if we can complete all these projects, we're looking at retouching with reconstruction 11 streets for a total of 3.1 miles. That does not include any of the street maintenance. As we complete the street maintenance, we'll be able to kind of enhance several more roads in the community. And we're looking at budgeting $300,000 for our street maintenance costs. And that falls under the ones we were talking about: rejuvenation, pavement markings, and street patching. With this, we would use about $2.3 million of non-referendum funding, and then we'll spend down the balance of the referendum funding, about $5.5 million. So total, we'd be looking at about $8.2 million in street improvements for the next fiscal year. Tied with that, we have the capital funds projects. This one's as the revenues come in through the utility sales tax. However, that's about the only funding source that we have kind of coming in that's reliable. The other ones are through corporate transfers, any grants that we receive, if we sell or lease property, as stated earlier with operations, and then any cost sharing projects that we have, such as like the sidewalks. For this next upcoming budget year, we'd like to keep the sidewalk 50/50 program. That seems to be very successful the last several years. So we'd like to keep that about $125,000. For the 50/50, we're still looking at, we kind of deferred some of the ADA sidewalk improvements this year, so we would need to get some of those completed. That's following our transition plan, and we can utilize MFT funding for this, so we will not impact our other our sales tax utility fund or any corporate funds. Then also we'll be utilizing these Fund 64, the utility sales tax, to help fund transfers for water and wastewater to help with the capital plans. And then with the bike and pedestrian plan, we'll be continuing to see grant funding and other projects. Recently, we just submitted an application to become a bike-friendly community with the Illinois, or the bikes. I can't think of it. The cyclist community. With that, we have the equipment replacement. As Director Scheibel indicated, most of the vehicles were removed. We have a couple liabilities that we have to still take care of. We have the 2020 ambulance that came in this year. The first lease payment will take place next year. Then we'll have the final lease payment for our 2017 Public Works truck and heart rate monitors. And then this year we're looking to, with the fire department, replace 2 heart monitors, defibrillators for a cost of about $70,000. The building improvement, we kept this as minimal as possible to be conservative. There's still maintenance on the buildings that we want to maintain to try to alleviate future costs that will be more substantial. So included this year, we're still looking at completing some additional work at Jefferson Pool with the anticipation that the pool will still be able to be reopened this summer. The annual maintenance at the skate park at the Iowa Community Center, the fleet maintenance garage. That unit heater was deferred from this year's budget, so we moved it into next year's budget. 3 window AC units for Fire Station 72, or sorry, not 72, 82. And then Village Hall, there's electric panel replacement and some rewiring that needs to take place. And then Public Works Building with the moving of community development, economic development into the building. We had to rearrange some of the layout. And so we need a little bit more space for some additional conference and training areas. So we have some money for a divider and some additional upgrades. And then evaluation of several of the public's buildings, so the roofs and repairs to make sure that we don't have leaking water into the buildings. The stormwater fund is mostly covered in revenue from the stormwater fee that we collect, which is about $582,000. And then we also are seeking the FEMA grant for the Jackson Pond. The grant request is for $4 million. There will be a cost share with that. And that's still under review with FEMA. We also have the backyard drainage assistance program where we provide 50% of the drainage assistance. And then we have the stormwater detention buyout fees from anyone that goes through the DuPage County stormwater requirements and elect to buy their detention through the regional bank with us versus providing detention. Our capital projects is to maintain the drainage assistance program. Then we do have some components on Harvard from Jefferson to Park where we're updating some of the storm sewer. When we got into design, we determined that it was needed to help correct some of the stormwater issues over there. And then the second segment of Harvard from Plymouth to Ridge. Obviously, our big project would be the Jackson Pond project if we can get the FEMA grant. And then the Monterey Avenue project from Washington to Park. This would be the separation of the storm sewer at that location so that we can continue with other separation projects. Overall, the remaining capital projects listed in our stormwater are listed here. I will make note, if you will notice, it does say Charles Avenue Improvement Project, and it also has the Maple Area Project. This table came from the Christopher Burke study that was completed back in 2014, 2015. And at that time, they identified some locations where they thought some additional storage was needed on Charles and Maple. With the improvements we're hopeful to complete under Charles, we don't believe that we might not need that, or we won't need that additional storage. However, we left it on here just as a point since it wasn't a study. Similar with Maple, we may require some additional storage once the project is complete. However, we could not complete that with the IEPA loan. The remainder of projects here like Yale, Wisconsin, and then are included in our referendum projects. So those are moving forward as separation projects. And then the remainder are largely unfunded at this time, but are still in our 5-year CIP for stormwater improvements. The water supply fund. The majority of the water supply fund comes from user charges. We kept it at $4.5 million, which is what we got in about 2019, as we have not had a rate increase since. Currently, the rates are under study with Stanley Consultants to review that. And as you can see at the bottom, we're projecting the reserve balance to go down to about $269,000. Ultimately, this is why Charles couldn't go this year, is we just not have the balance available to complete the water component on Charles. And obviously, we're going to need probably a rate increase this upcoming year, as we have not received a rate increase from Chicago or from DuPage Water Commission on water supply. Also looking at this, we're looking at transferring in the utility sales tax of about $431,000. We are receiving the CBDG block grant that was discussed for Harvard of $400,000, and then we'll be seeking $3 million in loans. That would be for Charles, and then a mass water meter replacement program for this upcoming year. Overall expenses, out of that $4.5 million, $2.36 million is for our normal operations for our crews to maintain the water supply in the community. Another $2.8 million is just the purchase of water. And then we're planning $4.13 million in capital projects. Kind of the capital projects that are not water infrastructure. Part of that is to maintain the census analytics software that we purchased this past year. The big one is about $2.5 million is a system-wide meter replacement program. Currently, we only have about 25% of our meters upgraded to the iPearl and the Omni meters. And these are the new meters that read with our census software, and they also provide readings down to the gallon. A little bit more reliable. As our old MXU meters, while they're still in operation and functioning, we're noticing a decline in their abilities, and so the readings are not are becoming less accurate. So we are losing water in terms of billing. So we'd like to replace all those this upcoming year. We also need to update our SCADA system that controls our water and wastewater facilities as we defer that from this previous year. For the capital improvement projects for the water main replacements, we have Harvard from Jefferson Park to Plymouth. And then we have 3rd Avenue where we'll replace services and maintain any locations that needed for water mains. Maple is additional. We'll replace services to homes and maintain the water main as needed. Then we have Charles, Harvard, and Monterey. Wastewater, for the revenues, the last rate increase was January of 2017. Again, this is being studied by Stanley Consultants underway to look at our fees and how they correlate to being able to fund our capital projects. And then we also get $290,000 from our storm sewer separation fund fee that we collect from the residents. For this upcoming budget, we have about $5.1 million in EPA loans that we're seeking. And most of that is for the combination sewer separation projects that we're doing. And then to continue on our master plan for sewer rehab projects that consist of the linings. We need to transfer in about $851,000 from the utility tax. And at the end of the year, we're projecting about $1.4 million in reserves. The projects for operating, we need to maintain the collection system. We currently still have the wet weather flow treatment facility. And as we separate, the reliability or the reliance on that plant becomes less. So we would like to continue to separate sewers. We'll have 5 EPA loans that we have to repay this upcoming year. Last year we had 4. Next year, this upcoming budget, we'll add a 5th with the Astor Myrtle project loan coming on for repayment. And we still have to repay some of the street improvement funds from the previous projects. Just as capital expenses, we're still looking at needing to do rehab at the wet weather flow treatment facility, as that's an old facility. There we need to replace an SSO pump that we deferred from this year. We will still have the sewer reimbursement program where we assist residents with drainage or sewer repairs on their property. Again, with the SCADA improvements, and then 35 West Home, the water and wastewater building needs a new roof. Priorities for the infrastructure. Again, we have Harvard. We have the sewer services being replaced as part of the sewer separation project on that. 3rd Avenue, where we're separating the sewer. Charles Avenue, Harvard from Plymouth to Ridge, and then Monterey. 2021 sewer rehabilitation program would be the additional lining of the unreinforced concrete pipes and other locations that is identified in our master program or master plan, as we found those are the locations that are failing. And then we have the major projects of sewer separation of 3rd, Maple area improvement, Charles Avenue, and Monterey. The remaining 5-year capital plans for the separations that we would need loans are listed here. We still have Elm, we still have Euclid, we still have Monterey, we still have Washington, Westmore, Wisconsin, and Yale, totaling a little over $17 million in separations and loans that we need to get from the EPA to complete those projects. And this will benefit 990 homes. Overall, the map on the left in the red is projects that have been completed to date under the CIP. And then the projects labeled in blue on the right are the remaining projects listed in the CIP that we have yet to complete. With that, all those projects left remaining total is up to be about $89 million. Obviously, some of these do not have funding sources, but we have it broken out per the funding categories that we're anticipating the funds coming out of for these projects. As you can see, it relies heavily on the referendum, relies heavily on the sewer separation loans, and the stormwater fund that doesn't have that funding associated with it yet. And with that, I can take any questions.
Does anyone have any questions? And I can't see all of you right now. There we go. Trustee Wagner.
Yes, I just have a couple of quick questions. I read recently that the DuPage County Board is planning on raising the motor fuel tax. Was that figured in our projections at all?
In our projections in the MFT, we projected we've been tracking the additional 19 cents that the state passed as part of the lockbox. That is projected in our revenues. DuPage County, I have not heard that yet, so we'd have to look at those revenues unless the manager has additional information. But right now we are currently just tracking on the state side.
Manager Keener.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. I believe they are, as Trustee Wagner mentioned, considering, I think it's doubling, if I'm not mistaken, the MFT. However, at this time, I'm unaware that they'll be sharing any of that money with the local municipality. So I'd be interested to see if they're planning on doing that. But that particular increase is not budgeted within our current budget. Thank you, Your Honor.
I got the impression from the county board that they're really not thinking about sharing that with anybody. So I have one question too, Manager Keener or Michael. When does the DuPage Water Commission's contract with the city of Chicago expire? Because I know the mayor of Chicago is looking forever she can make get more money, but not be on the back of the residents of Chicago. So is that contract still good for this year, Manager Keener?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. That contract with the DuPage Water Commission that we're involved in, and along with a bunch of other communities as well, I believe has 3.5 more years on its term. But there is a certain section within that contract that triggers the negotiating process, which is 5 years out prior to its expiration. And Your Honor and Board, I believe there may be some hiccups in the negotiation process right now, and that process is stalled. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. Trustee Wagner, I believe you had another question.
Yeah, just a quick question. Director Guerra mentioned that there was something census tract information tied in with the community block grant for Harvard. Can you explain that?
Yes. To be eligible for the CDBG, the Community Development Block Grant, the project has to be located within the boundaries of census tracts that are labeled low to mod. So several of those grant fundings that we received over the years can help with infrastructure, but we're limited on locations that funding can be utilized because it has to be in those census blocks.
Thank you. That's all I had.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions on this? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much for all your hard work putting that capital project budget together. And we'll cross our fingers and hope that we don't have any major changes in our revenue stream. So, okay, with that, then we'll move on our regular agenda to the consent agenda. Item 6A is the bill listing for the week of November 9th and November 16th in the total amount of $539,840.13. The minutes from the board meeting held on November 9th, 2020, and the minutes from the public hearing held on November 9th, 2020. Do we have a motion for the consent agenda? Trustee Wagner?
I'd like to make that motion.
Have a second? Trustee Ciela? Ciela seconds it. I see his hand up. Okay. All right. Any questions from the board? Okay, seeing none, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Kazone,
Yes.
Trustee Patrick,
Yes.
Trustee Tucker,
Yes,
Trustee Murphy,
Yes.
Trustee Wagner,
Yes.
Trustee Salela, President Bolfus.
Yes, it passes, and we'll move on to item number 7A, which is the first reading of an ordinance of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, increasing the number of Class D-1 full package convenience store liquor license for the package sale of alcohol liquor. Manager Keenan.
Thank you, Your Honor. Villa Park Heroes, Inc., located at 340 West St. Charles Road and doing business as Villa Park Exxon, has recently purchased a former 7-Eleven building with plans to open a convenience store offering the sale of packaged alcohol liquor to customers. The owner, Mr. Stephen George, has requested a Class D1 full package convenience store liquor license. If approved, this ordinance will bring the total number of Class D1 licenses to 3. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. You're all aware of this station on the corner of St. Charles and Addison Road, which closed rather quickly when 7-Eleven pulled the contract with the owner. He's requesting a liquor license, and this is normally is a first reading only. We usually don't need a motion, but the owner has requested if we could expedite this because he would love to get that location open before the first of the year or as soon as possible. So the question is to the board members, if anybody would like to make a motion to waive the need for a second reading on this item. Trustee Wagner?
I'd like to make that motion to waive the second reading.
Okay, do we have a second? Trustee Kazone?
I'll second that.
Okay, any questions on that from anybody? Trustee Kazone?
Just a quick question. The D1, is that just beer and wine he can sell, or can he sell full liquor out of that with that license?
That's beer and wine.
It's just beer and wine. Okay.
He asked for a full, but I told him you probably wouldn't get that from the village board. So he just went with the beer and wine. Trustee Murphy?
Yes, did that location previously have a liquor license?
No, they did not. Anyone else?
you said that was just beer and wine?
That's correct.
Okay. The reason I ask is it's listed as full. Usually when you say full, it means everything.
I'm pretty sure that's just beer and wine. I see Attorney Orr's looking right there real quick. You're muted. You're muted, Attorney.
I will verify that, but it is my understanding it was just beer and wine.
Yeah. So, okay. Trustee Murphy, did you have another question?
Yes, if the liquor license is not approved, will that business plan to move forward? Liquor license.
Probably not, because he doesn't get a whole lot of sales in the convenience store to start with. He's looking for every extra dollar he can make in there.
And I'm anticipating those gas pumps will be removed and they won't be selling gas at that location?
No, they will be selling gas. Okay. Anyone else? Okay, so the motion is to waive the requirement for a second reading. And seeing no other questions, we have a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Kazone?
Yes.
Trustee Salela?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy? No. Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Tucker?
We're just voting on removing the second motion, correct?
The second reading, yes.
Yes.
Wagner?
Yes.
President Bolfus?
Yes. Okay, so then we need a motion for the liquor license, Class D1 liquor license for the convenience store on St. Charles, 340 West St. Charles Road. So,
Can I intervene in here?
Motion and a second, and then,
but we have to have a motion and a second first.
Okay.
Go ahead, Trustee Wagner.
Make that motion.
Do we have a second? Trustee Kazone?
Second that.
Okay, any questions or comments?
Yes, according to the writing, it says wines and spirits shall not be sold in containers less than 7.5, which means they can sell it there. It just gives a specification of a size less that they can't sell it.
Okay, I don't have the liquor.
I have to, you have the code in front of you?
I do. D1, it says full package convenience store. That's what we're speaking of.
Oh, okay.
Section line 4, it says wines and spirits shall not be sold in containers less than this size, which gives me the impression they can sell other than beer and wine there.
No, I will try to get that. Go ahead.
Try to get what?
I pull up the code.
Oh, okay.
I have to do it, but I will do it. I mean, I will get it done.
Okay, but we're voting on a D1.
Correct. Which according to this, they can sell all more liquor than just wine, beer and wine.
No, but
Oh, hold on.
yeah, it's hard for me to do it because we're zooming.
Mr. Mayor.
So this is a class D?
This is a D1 full
Yes.
package. Oh, okay.
Full package, and then there's has one spirits and space sold in containers less than
Okay.
Have you
So
found
D-
something?
Yeah.
And
Just a minute. Let me take care of this echo.
all right. D1, full package convenience store authorizes sale of alcoholic liquors on the premises specified in their original package, not for consumption. Floor area space, wine and spirits shall not be sold in containers less than 750 millimeters, meaning by the glass, a full bottle. That's the quantities. The problem is I thought it was alcohol liquors specified in their original package and not for consumption on the premises of a retail establishment known as a convenience store. We don't have a package for just beer and wine. If you read that as all alcohol. Wait a minute, yeah, because these are all restaurants. Class F is package restricted beer only. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
So D1, full package convenience store, D shall authorize the sale of retail of alcoholic liquors on the premises in their original package, not for consumption of a retail, primarily sells foods and beverages. So with the phrase of alcoholic liquor, it would mean more than beer and wine. We do not have a convenience store for just beer and wine.
I'm sorry, I must have misspoke. So
I did too. I was sure that was the purpose of D1 versus D, but I am wrong also.
Trustee Kazone?
Can we change this in the ordinance and just limit this one particular occupant to beer and wine and then change the ordinance later on, D1? Can we do that today?
Well, we don't have a code.
No, but can
we
we just say it's D1, but we are limiting it?
We could issue a D1 on the condition that only beer and wine be sold. And it would be a nuance. And because it's an ordinance, it would have equal weight with our code of ordinances.
Okay. So we would have to put a condition onto this?
Correct.
Okay. Trustee Wagner?
I'd like to amend the motion to provide a stipulation that it is only for beer and wine.
And that it be designated D-1-A.
And that it be designated as D-1-A.
Capital A.
So we have a motion to amend. Any questions on that? All right, we have a second.
Yeah.
Trustee Kazan?
Yeah, I'll second the amendment, the amended motion.
Okay, any questions on the amendment motion? Okay, then we need a roll call on that, so.
Okay, trustee Silella,
Yes.
trustee Murphy,
No.
trustee Patrick,
Yes.
trustee Tucker,
Yes.
trustee Kazone,
Yes.
trustee Wagner,
Yes.
President Bolfus.
Yes. Okay, so that's amended. Now we need a motion on the original amended motion, so. I think, did we have a, Trustee Wagner?
Yeah, that's the safest way. That was the amendment, and now we'll do it on the main motion, meaning a liquor license to be issued, beer and wine only package, to be designated as D-1 capital A.
Yes. Okay, Trustee Wagner?
I will make that motion as Attorney Orr stated it.
Okay, do you have a second? Trustee Patrick?
Yes, I'd second that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Trustee Murphy?
Yes, I would just like to make a comment. I would solely like to encourage the business owner to move forward with the gas station and potentially the convenience store. I am, however, adverse to adding another location that sells liquor on St. Charles Road. The more we continue to add these liquor licenses, the more we're diluting the other businesses from their opportunities and the amount of sales they have. We currently have quite a large number of locations in a very short distance that are currently selling alcohol.
Thank you. Anybody else? Seeing none, do I have a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Kazone,
Yes.
trustee Tucker,
No.
trustee Silella,
Yes.
trustee Murphy,
No.
trustee Patrick,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
President Bolfus.
Yes, with that, the motion passes. And we will move, I'll notify the owner about to make sure we have this all clear and that he understands what he can sell. So, okay, item number 8A is an ordinance of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, establishing temporary executive powers pursuant to Chapter 8, Article 3, Section 8-301 to 308 of the Villa Park Municipal Code, and 65 ILCS 5/11-1-6 of the Illinois Municipal Code, and 20 ILCS 3305 to 11 of the Illinois Emergency Management Act. This ordinance extends the temporary executive power contained in Ordinance 4170 approved by the Village Board on November 9th, 2020, until such time that the Village Board can reconvene an open meeting. We have a motion for the ordinance. Trustee Kazone,
President, I'll make that motion.
we have a second.
Second.
Trustee Ciala. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Trustee Patrick,
Yes.
trustee Tucker,
Yes.
trustee Murphy,
Yes.
trustee Wagner,
Yes.
trustee Kazone,
Yes.
trustee Silella,
Yes.
President Bolfus.
Yes, that passes, and we'll move on to item 8B, was an ordinance of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, authorizing sale of surplus personal property owned by the Village of Villa Park. Manager Keener?
Thank you, Your Honor. Medic 80 is a 2009 MedTech ambulance Ford E450 with a Ford chassis being used as a reserve ambulance when frontline medic units, Medic 81 and 82, are out of service due to maintenance. Medic 80 is 11 years old and requires increased maintenance costs that outweigh its usefulness as a reserve fire department ambulance. It is recommended that the 2009 MedTech ambulance be declared as surplus personal property and authorized for sale via Ovenoff Auction Services, Inc., eBay auctions, and independent dealer, or by word of mouth with a minimum of $4,500. Proceeds from the sale of Medic 80 will be placed into the Equipment Replacement Fund revenue account number 6541015. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion for the ordinance. Trustee Patrick,
I'd like to make that motion.
we have a second.
Second.
Trustee Stella, a second. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Trustee Wagner,
Yes.
Trustee Murphy,
Yes.
Trustee Kazone,
Yes.
Trustee Tucker,
Yes.
Trustee Solella,
Yes.
Trustee Patrick,
Yes.
President Bolfus.
Yes. With that, that passes, and we'll move on to items 8C, which is an ordinance of the Village of Villa Park to Page County, Illinois, granting a variation to allow for a tent-covered outdoor seating area during the winter months, November 1st to April 30th, at 324 East Central Boulevard. Jack Kozar, petitioner. Manager Keener.
Thank you, Your Honor. The petitioner seeks approval of a variance for the business known as Fuel and Creme, which is a bar and ice cream stand. This item was tabled during the November 9th, 2020 Village Board meeting. This ordinance would allow the business to seat customers in a temporary tent structure on the property between the months of November and April, which is currently prohibited by Village Code. The Planning and Zoning Commission voted in opposition of this variance. The petitioner indicates that the variance is necessary for Fuel and Creme to continue to thrive and grow as a business. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Do we have a motion for the ordinance? Trustee Wagner.
I'd like to make that motion.
Do we have a second? Trustee Kazone.
I'll second that.
Okay. Questions or comments from the board? I believe that everything. Did Trustee Wagner, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I just want to address some of the things that Resident Tracy Gabriel mentioned in her email. First off, the sightlines. I just want the board to know that there was a intersection study done of Myrtle and Central and Cortese. I beg your pardon. Yeah, Myrtle and Central and Cortese and Central. And one of the recommendations in that intersection study that was presented to the last meeting of the Traffic and Safety Commission is it's quite likely that there will be an all-way stop at Myrtle and Central. So that would address the issues of traffic. I disagree with the characterization that Fuel and Creme looks like a salvage yard. I think they've done a lot to beautify their property. So I disagree with that. I don't see where the sign, where the fuel sign will be obscured by the tent.
All right.
So I disagree with that as well. So obviously I'll be voting in favor of this. That's all I have.
Anyone else have any comments? Trustee Tucker.
Yes, Tracy covered a lot of them. I was approached after the last board meeting with a lot of members on Myrtle and Central having concerns. I did approach a couple of them. I know the tent may cause more parking congestion in that area. They've already stated several times to Manager Keener on how they're concerned about their parking places in front of their units on Myrtle and on Central are being taken up by customers. Their biggest issue is they know that we're probably going to go through with the tent thing, and most of them don't have an issue with the tent. They do have an issue with the location of the tent, though. They would prefer to have it in location 1 rather than location 2 where he's got it right now. Some of the issues Tracy had already covered. They brought up the fact of the visual off of Central Avenue and the corner of Myrtle, that tent there you can't really see anybody coming up from Myrtle coming through, and because Central doesn't have a stop sign right now, it's a dangerous corner. But as you stated, traffic and safety is going to put a stop sign there, which would solve that problem with the visual. Not they would have to stop. They did have a question on the lighting on it, which was brought up. The lighting right there for the tent, is it in specs of setting off the lighting to the apartment buildings that are across from it? Because they're a little concerned right now because at times it shines right into their windows. Some of the apartments on Myrtle and Central, the lighting from the tent shines right into their windows. But I don't know, is that in spec? Our spec for the lighting, the photo spec on that? Does anyone know?
Well, there is a village requirement about lighting going over into the past the property, so that's a different ordinance requirement. So
is the tent in it though? Would the tent be in that spec? So, or has anyone even checked into it to find out the lighting in the spec? Leaving the tent there would be in that spec.
I'm not sure if I follow that. Is the lighting you're saying is in the tent, or it's like
the lighting from the tent? The residents on Myrtle and Central have an issue with the lighting from the tent, from it being there right now, shining into their windows.
From the lighting inside the tents?
From the lighting from the tent, where the tent's located right now, there's lighting inside that tent, causing the glare to go into their apartments. My question is it under the photo spec already that we've got, that it just is not excessive?
Consuelo, I see she lit up here, so.
Yeah, if I may answer that question, the lighting requirements do apply to within property and its property lines. In addition, we do have lighting regulations that will prevent any glare or direct impact to surrounding properties. We are reviewing those on a complaints basis. So if there are concerns with existing lighting or future lighting at the proposed sites, we would definitely follow up with inspections and with the property owner accordingly.
Okay, because they said if the tent was moved in the other location, that wouldn't be an issue. Yeah. The other is a nuisance concern for the noise, which right now, according to he's asking for a variance to have outdoor entertainment. Their question on that is the outdoor entertaining for that tent, is that considered outdoor entertaining, or is it considered indoor entertaining, which means it wouldn't fall under that guidelines?
That's an excellent question. One of the original variation requests from the petitioner was to allow outdoor entertainment. That request is not before you tonight. It's just strictly for the tent. However, any indoor noise, whether it's through the radio or speakers, will be subject to any nuisance regulations that we have. If it were to be live entertainment, it would not be permitted if it's outside. And I would consider the outdoor tent Metro Station to be an outdoor structure. We would be more than happy to review it on a case-by-case basis. But the petitioner, from what I understand, does not have plans to provide outdoor entertainment as part of the tent.
Okay, it is being piped into that tent right now, though.
The petitioner is definitely here who could clarify of what is going on within the tent operations, but I'm not aware of any live entertainment taking place inside of the tent.
Okay, these are just things that they're questioning on the location of it, that they think if it got moved to the other location, it would not be part of their concerns on Central and Myrtle. I'm just bringing it up. Not that I have any other. And then they also brought up the beauty of it, of the building, the cosmetic beauty of the building with the tent in front of it. It kind of takes away from what Jack was stating on the old look of the building and how beautiful it was. By putting a white tent in front, it kind of takes away from that. At the moment, they have mentioned that the fuel sign is down due to the tent being in the way. He does not have that fuel sign up. I don't know if it's not up or just not lit. From what I could tell, it's not up. And that was a variance I know that's coming with his rooftop building type, sir. And the last question was, we're giving them a variance for the tent if it's in that location. Can that tent be also put up during the other months for events if we give him the tent variance now?
This, right now, it's just for November 1st through April 30th.
Okay, so if he wanted a tent up on a regular basis, he would have to file a petition, correct? Like everyone else for a tent to be up for a special event.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay.
Yes.
So basically, I'm just going to do an overview and correct it that if we give Fuel and Crumb these variances, we're voting to allow them to have an outdoor seating all year round with the seeing that's what we're changing actually is the variances for allowing him to have outdoor seating with the provision that he can have a tent up on the property from November 1st to April 30th. The tent cannot be bigger than 20 feet by 20 feet by 12 feet high. And the other question is, does that tent have to be certified every year? Because 61211G, it sounds like it would not have to be. Would it have to go through safety regulations every year or not?
A permit would be required to install the tent, and a part of the permitting process does require inspection of it.
Okay, because we're removing 611 to 12, which would mean he doesn't have to file for that petition every year.
I don't think you should have to require every year, does he? Attorney Orr, what do you think? Once we do this, you're muted, Attorney Orr.
No, once we approve this, he would not go through. That doesn't mean that there shouldn't be a check on the safety of the apparatus. And I think we would probably deal with that as we would any other business, especially if we have any complaints or there's any weather conditions to warrant questioning the stability of the tent. The liability of the owner for an unstable tent is so astronomical that I take comfort in the fact that you can't run a business without having something like a tent in good condition.
Okay, so we wouldn't, I mean, as a village, we don't have a regulation that he would have to have it checked for fire safety or anything like that. We originally had when he put it up.
No.
Okay. So there wouldn't be a yearly requirement. It would just fall under the 611 to 11G, which says he has to keep it up into regular standards, right?
Right.
Yeah.
If I'm understanding correctly. Okay.
Right.
Okay, and then basically the residents on that side are asking us to move from option 2 to option 1 because of the reasons I just stated. I know in ours it says option 2. Which will come in effect to the variance passing. Okay, as of right now, we are not approving any entertainment allowance on that property or in that tent by allowing him to put the tent up.
We're just talking about the tent.
So as it stands right now, he does not have an approval if we approve this tent to have any piped in music in that tent or entertainment. Because that's one of the variances that I think.
Right. Piped in music is different from live entertainment. We don't have such restrictions on just music. It's live entertainment that brings up code issues.
I believe we do though on that list. That's why it was that's why somebody questioned it.
If I may, the outdoor seating accessory regulations does have a prohibition of no live entertainment recorded, otherwise that's permitted in the outdoor seating area. So that's not permitted as is today in the code. And the petitioner has not applied for a variation for that to do so as part of this tent request.
Okay. Seeing we don't have any changes, Trustee Murphy. Trustee Murphy? You're muted.
Yep, I'm working on it. One question and then just a comment. The vote that we're voting on tonight, we've had a lot of discussion over the location of that tent. Included in what we're voting tonight, are we delineating which of those 2 locations that tent needs to remain in, or are we leaving that as a potential alternative?
Did you read the ordinance that we all received?
Yes, I did.
It's right in there. Location 2 as shown in Exhibit 1.
In location 2 is where it currently resides, correct?
Yes. Yes.
And just one other comment, and not to prolong the conversation again, but there's been a lot of discussion both at tonight's meeting and at the last meeting with respect to the understanding of indoor versus outdoor dining. My understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, especially now during the pandemic, and this could be a unique circumstance as a result of the pandemic, indoor dining is considered 3 sides of that tent or more down. Outdoor dining is considered 2 sides of the tent must remain up, which is my understanding what we should be currently adhering to for this and any of our tents at this time.
That's the way I interpret it too. If the sides are down, it's indoor dining.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Trustee Kazan.
Yeah, I just have one comment, and this goes back to what Trustee Wagner said. I know ever since fuel has been in there, there's been concern about traffic up and down Central, and I know there's been talk about making it one way. And but I would definitely like to see full stop on all 3 corners there. And I think hopefully, from what Trustee Wagner is saying, is that it looks like traffic and safety is going to kind of push for that. So I would definitely think that would allay a lot of the fears of having the tent in its current location. And I definitely would go along with seeing that done. And that's my comment.
Okay. Comments? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Silella?
Yes.
Trustee Tucker?
No.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Kazone?
Yes.
Trustee Wagner?
Yes.
President Wolfus?
Yes. With that, that passes, and we'll move on to item 8 D, which is an ordinance of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, amending liquor license renewal fees for establishments with a pour license for 2021. Manager Keenan.
Thank you, Your Honor. The small business owners and restaurants of Villa Park have been some of the most profoundly impacted by the governor's stay-at-home orders and resulting actions taken in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. With this in mind, Liquor Commissioner and Village President Boltheis would like to reduce the 2021 liquor license renewal fees to $10 for any establishment holding a pour license in one of the following classifications. That would be the AAA, AA, A, C, Quad E, Triple E, Double E, I, X, and Z. Approval of this ordinance would reduce the renewal fees only for those establishments currently holding one of the aforementioned classes of license. This ordinance sunsets on December 31st, 2021. Thank you, Your Honor.
We have a motion for the ordinance. Trustee Wagner.
Make that motion.
Trustee Ciala.
Second.
Second. Any questions or comments from the board? Trustee Murphy.
Just one quick question for Director Scheibel. I'm totally in favor of this, but I am interested in knowing what the annual revenue impact on this is. I'm noticing in your earlier presentation, which would have been one of my questions, whether or not, how both Manager Keener are feeling about the loss in revenue and how we can accommodate that. But I am noticing that it's documented as being accommodated in next year's budget in the general fund revenue. The annual amount?
The annual amount is about $80,000.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Trustee Murphy,
Yes.
trustee Kazone,
Yes.
trustee Tucker,
Yes.
trustee Patrick,
Yes.
trustee Wagner,
Yes.
trustee Salella,
Yes.
President Bolthus.
Yes, and that passes, and I'm sure all the liquor license holders and the businesses that are struggling right now to keep a roof over their head, keep their business going, keep their employees employed, paying their mortgages on their business and on their personal residence are very happy about that. So, okay, with that, we'll move on to 8E, which is an ordinance providing for the issuance of $601,890 general obligation limited tax bonds series 2020 of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, for the levy of a direct annual tax to pay the principal of and interest on said bonds. Manager Keener.
Thank you, Your Honor. In 2017, the village issued alternate revenue bonds to refund TIF-3 debt certificates as part of the strategy to address insufficient TIF-3 revenue. These alternate revenue bonds are to be funded by rollover bonds issued each fall, which are then paid back using our non-home rural debt service extension base. The rollover bonds were competitively bid on Thursday, November 19th. The attached ordinance shows the favorable rate received during the competitive bid process. Thank you, Your Honor.
Do you have a motion for the ordinance? Trustee Kazone.
President, I'll make that motion.
You have a second?
I'll second.
Trustee Ciala, second. Okay. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Trustee Wagner,
Yes.
trustee Patrick,
Yes.
trustee Murphy,
Yes.
trustee Tucker,
Yes.
trustee Salella,
Yes.
trustee Kazone,
Yes.
President Bolthus.
Yes, that passes, and we'll move on to item number 9A, which is a resolution of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, approving an agreement with Passport Parking LLC to provide electronic parking payment service. Manager Keener.
Thank you, Your Honor. In 2012, the village entered into an agreement with Passport Parking LLC to provide commuters a mobile pay option when parking at the Metro lot. Passport Parking LLC has updated their service agreements and has requested an extension of the village's previous contract. The new agreement is titled as a software license and service agreement and does not change any of the current costs or services provided to the village or commuters. Thank you, Your Honor.
We have a motion for the resolution. Trustee Wagner.
I make that motion.
We have a second, Trustee Murphy. That's Trustee Murphy second. Okay. Any questions or comments? Trustee Tucker.
I have a question on this contract's exactly the same that we had previously with them. If I'm understanding correctly on reading this through, is this an extension on the contract? Was there some, because from what I read, there was no change in the contract, except there was a software update or something. I think I read. What are we actually approving here? It's a continuation of a contract, or has it been extended?
Manager Keener.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yes, it's as it's mentioned, it's a software license and service agreement. And I think we're all aware that over time, technology changes and becomes more efficient. And this is what this is really all about, that they've updated their software technology and now they've updated their agreement. And we've been with Passport Parking since 2012, and it's just to approve their software license and agreement. We don't want to discontinue our relationship with Passport Parking. We want to continue that and move it forward because we believe it's an efficient process. Thank you, Your Honor.
So basically, it's just because their software update got updated that we're renewing this. We're changing the contract. Is that what it is? It's a legal type of switch of documentation. That's all we're doing.
Right. It's a legal protection to them for the software issues. So whenever you allow someone to use your software, you obviously want to protect their ultimate use of it, or allowing any third party to use it. So it's an updated, as Trustee Keener, as Manager Keener just stated, it's an update because of the software component having been updated.
So it's basically just a legal documentation's been updated saying that we're not going to do anything with their software or destroy their new software is what it is. It's just a legal statement saying that they've updated their software and now we're agreeing like you would for Facebook or any other policy. That's basically what this is. You know,
Yes.
agreeing to use their equipment or their software properly and not misuse it. That's all it was.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Trustee Patrick,
Yes.
trustee Kazone,
Yes.
trustee Tucker,
Yes.
trustee Salella,
Yes.
Murphy,
Yes.
trustee Wagner,
Yes.
President Bolthus.
Yes. With that, we'll move on to public comments on non-agenda items. Did anybody send in any questions, Manager Keener?
Your Honor, let me check my email. I apologize, I didn't do it while you were talking. But I do believe there's several folks that have signed up here in the presence of Hosanna and myself to address the board as well.
Okay, well,
And no, Your Honor, I don't have any additional emails.
okay, who do we have in present?
President Bolthus, Robert Smith is here today.
Good evening. Robert Smith, 137 North Charles Avenue. You should know by now. This is my fifth, if not sixth meeting that I've attended regarding the conditions of North Charles Avenue. It's given me some hope tonight after hearing the capital project presentation that we are once again listed for the 2021 projects to be executed or completed under the roadway reconstruction. However, I'm concerned that we're going to get pushed back again. And why we're listed fourth on that list is a question to me. Why isn't Charles number one? If we were pushed back in 2020, wouldn't it make sense that we'd be first on the list? I didn't see that. I saw it as we're listed as fourth. Another thing is past two meetings, I've seen the board spend so much time and so many comments and discussion related to a location of a tent on a property. Yet I come here with 17 of my neighbors to a meeting and I get cursory comments from one or two board members where the majority stays silent. So tonight I'm asking that each board member go on record as their position on rectifying the conditions of North Charles Avenue. I want you to go on record. I want the record to reflect verbatim each comment. So when I come back, when the new board is sworn in next year, that I can refer to these and where this board stands today. So I'd like to hear from each and every one of you. Thank you.
Well, I don't have any trouble telling you, Mr. Smith. As far as I can see from the information I have, the first two items on that list have grant money coming in. So those are number 1 and 2, because we don't want to lose any money to run those cheaper. Item number 3 is the Maple Avenue improvement project. That project was also pushed back. And one of the reasons I have that on my list as number 3 because of the severity and the number of residents. I think it's about 100 and some properties that would be affected by the sewer separation and the water and the street repair. I'm looking for it here, but I don't see it. And your street was the same thing, but it was for 44 residents. And they have actually flooding on their streets where the water runs in through their basement windows when we have a heavy rain. And they have, a number of them have sewer backup when we have a heavy rain. And their street is not in any better condition than anybody else's in that area. So that's why you're number 4 on my list. I'm not afraid to tell you that. But, you know, you are on the list to be done for 2021. God forbid that we have any other major catastrophes that affect our revenue flow. But if not, if we don't have any of those catastrophes, you should be number 4 on the list for next year. So that's just my opinion. So Trustee Cielo.
Yes, I'd like to refer the request of Mr. Smith to our village attorney. That a reasonable request to be answered.
He can ask you any citizen can ask you anything they want, and if you want to go on the record, you may, and if you don't have to go on the record. If that's the question that you're asking me.
Well, I'd like to go on record saying I choose not to make any promises. None of us know what the future holds for this village with the current conditions that we're faced right now. We're trimming the budget and working it the best we can. That's about the best answer I can give him. No one's here to prohibit making his life better or worse. It's strictly money and nothing else. So that would be my only comment I can make to Mr. Smith. I can't make a promise of yes or no.
Wagner.
Since we're making statements, I just want to, I'm sure like other trustees, I've walked and driven Charles Avenue, and I agree it's in bad shape. But I would say that I have a lot of confidence that staff will do everything possible to make sure that that project goes through. But there could be contingencies, there could be emergencies, we don't know. But all I'll say is that I have confidence. We all want, I think the whole board wants to see that street fixed for those residents. So that's all I'll say.
Trustee Kazan.
Yeah, I gotta agree. Nobody knows, nobody has a crystal ball, and if we did, we wouldn't be sitting here right now. We'd be in our tower someplace. But I know everybody who has walked that street realizes it's in bad shape. Being number 4 on the list, though, is not that bad, especially when the first 2 have those grants that have to be done next year. We got to spend the money next year. So 3 and 4, they're both major jobs that are going to get hopefully done next year. And I'm sure everybody's working their hardest, and seems like we're doing a little better than I think we anticipated to be at this point back in March and April. So hopefully things will turn around a little bit in the next couple of months, and guys will do the best we can. And Public Works and staff will do their best.
Trustee Murphy.
Yes, I would just like to make a brief comment. There's been a lot of finger pointing on this issue toward the board. And it's my understanding, and perhaps Attorney Orr can help clarify, that the Villa Park Board is a governance board as opposed to an operational board, which isn't always something that either we or the residents are intimately familiar with. So we as a board defer to the staff, and the staff has done a wonderful job in prioritizing their projects. I personally live on Yale. My street is the absolute last to be done. And unfortunately, I'll have to wait patiently, just like everyone else, to get accomplished what we need to do. But there are several intricacies associated with making these decisions, many of which are dependent upon funding sources and how we can allocate funding depending on where the money is coming from. So there are just many, many complexities that go into this decision making. And again, our governance board relies on the professionalism and the good judgment of our staff, which we are very pleased with at this point. So we are very hopeful and do anticipate the street to be done next year. Barring any unfortunate circumstances, we're going to move forward with the understanding that we are intending to get that done. Thank you.
Trustee Patrick.
I'll go on record and I'll say that I am in favor of Charles Avenue being a top priority in 21. But I will agree with a lot of the other trustees in saying that we don't know what the future holds, but I would be in favor of that being a top priority. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, anybody else there?
Yes, Kelly Smith.
Yep, can't hear you. Can't hear you. Hold down the space bar.
As you know, it's been a long evening for us as well. Kelly Smith, 137 North Charles. I come with my husband every meeting. We are encouraged, and we appreciate your hearing. The reason we came to the board is that the staff, and we understand there's a lot of circumstances of why, but they weren't communicating with us, and we were given mixed messages. So that's why we brought it to your attention, because they answer to you and to do it. And do I know that Charles Avenue would be number 4 next year? I don't, unless we were here. The first meeting we attended, one of the trustees said, will this address all the concerns of the residents? That was my light bulb, that we needed to bring it to your attention. And that's what brought our residents out, is that you would know that this were our concerns. So we're not pointing fingers. We just brought it to the level to make everybody accountable. So we appreciate it. We appreciate the staff and what they're doing. And we know they're going to do their best, but that's why we're back each meeting, is we trusted that it was going to happen. And we were at the top of the list of the 2014 that he showed. That was 7 years. 7 years. Hopefully we'll get our street done next year. And that's the only reason. We appreciate it. We're thankful. We're thankful to the staff. We enjoy our community, but we need to be that greasy wheel. And we feel that after 5-6 meetings that maybe that is why we're for, and we appreciate that. Thank you. Everybody have a good Thanksgiving. We'll see you next month.
Thank you. Anyone else, Manager Keener?
Yes, I have Deepak Kumar signed up.
Oh, we can't hear her. She got to hold down the space bar.
Here. Just hold it.
Yep. Just hold it down.
Hi, my name is Deepa Kumar, and this podium is a little too. Okay. And I am bringing to the board my concerns as a citizen of Villa Park in terms of health and safety. I think it is clear from our the current budget and discussion that the safety of our Villa Park citizens is very important to the improvement of our economy and our local economy at this point. And since COVID-19 and the pandemic have been such an issue in our area, I think it's necessary that there is some kind of task to address the health and safety of our local residents. I read many of the notes from previous meetings in which there was a concern about the elderly in our neighborhood, and with impending chances for a vaccine and impending chances for a vaccine. I'd like to address a few points. My husband, first of all, is an infectious disease specialist, Dr. Sampath Kumar, and a partner of Metro Infectious Disease, which is a nationwide group of 70 infectious disease physicians. His colleague, Dr. Kamal Singh, was at the meeting November 19th, talking to Governor, telling us the procedures for what to do during Thanksgiving with Governor Pritzker. And I think at that meeting, they discussed the possibility of allocated almost $60 million in funds towards grassroots operations to address things like COVID-19 within communities such as ours, especially in communities which have a great deal of diversity and also have lower income individuals and people who have a lot of elderly individuals in order to sustain and make sure that they get the their health needs taken care of. I believe we could possibly, as a board, at one point access these funds. We need to keep our village safe at this point. I think that's the crucial part of our economy in this village turning around. The hospitals around here are already packed with increasing number of patients and also a very sad fact, increasing numbers of death. So I would like to know if there is some initiative within the board to address these issues. I do see some things on the website, which I know Manager Keener and the group has put together to help fellow residents, but I think it would be nice if we went a little deeper for our citizens of Villa Park.
Yeah, I saw that press conference when the governor talked about the $60 million of funds, but when I heard, I thought he said that was going to be earmarked for service organizations who can service residents, low income, seniors, and who have the special needs because of the virus. So I equated that to be like the DuPage County Health Department and seniors in the township who handles a lot of senior issues. So that's what I thought. Am I missing how he said that? Hold your space bar down.
I don't think you're missing what I'm saying. I think there is possibilities with any type of service or groups we have within Villa Park to address some of these funds, possibly to get our neighbors and our friends in a healthier state. And that's, what I'm hoping for. I think I want to just reach out to the board to reach out to their connections within the community in order to kind of get our village into a safer state. I think that's crucial, as I said, to many of the businesses around here, as well as crucial to the health of everyone in our wonderful city, which I grew up in for 35 years. So that's my major point there.
Okay, well, I think between the 7 of us, we might come up with something. So we'll see. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I have one more person signed up, and that's Francis O'Byrne. Last
Okay.
one.
How you folks doing this evening? My name is Gus Ross. I'm over here at 33 North Charles. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. I'd like to say thank you folks for giving us the time to speak and voice our opinion. You know what makes this country so great? Some of us are essential workers. I have patients down on me each and every day, Monday through Friday, 7 days a week. And it's tiresome and it's tough out here. We understand what Villa Park board have to go through as far as the funding. We're not asking for much. We just want, and I know it's hard to predict the future. And like the young fella up there said, we don't have a crystal ball to look through it and you guys can tell us when and what time and what month. That's understandable. Only thing we asking is we are just tired, man. We're really tired. I have my daughter here on my left side of me, and when she's out riding her bike and things like that, or her electric scooter. And sometimes we feel for her sometimes when she hit bumps. Yes, we do take safety pretty seriously. She wears a helmet and so forth. Again, we do understand. All we are saying, we're just tired and we just want some answers. But we can wait. We got time. We got nothing but time. And Villa Park is a great, great community. That's why we're here and voicing our opinion, because we enjoy Villa Park. We enjoy raising our family in Villa Park. And most of us try to keep our money in Villa Park with our local shopping, as far as the jewels down here, our small businesses, dollar store, Dollar General, and so forth. Again, this is one great community, and I wouldn't give it up for nothing in the world. And thank you, folks. Mr. Patrick, thank you for delivering those lawn bags. We had my wife and I, my daughter here, we had fun out there raking up leaves, but we got the job done. And thank you folks for the time. And once again, happy Thanksgiving, and you guys be careful. And it's just tough out here right now with this corona. One last thing, I often don't hardly watch news that much or TV that much, but I hear a lot of folks play this, what they call this ticket lotto or lottery. Just think about it, just perhaps. It would be nice if we can solicit the state of Illinois for some of that money that the folks put out there on those tickets, and maybe we can get our community fixed up. Just a thought. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else? Nope.
I don't know. I have Francis O'Byrne signed up, so I don't know if he's no longer interested.
He left, Your Honor.
Okay. Okay, seeing then, we'll move then down to the clerk's report.
I just a reminder to the candidates coming up for next April consolidated election. Just a reminder, the filing dates, Monday, December 14 at 9 a.m. So if you want to be at the top of whatever group you're trying to get elected to, you need to be first, and that would be 9 a.m. if that's what you want, to Monday, December 21st at 5 p.m. And I will be here Monday morning on the 14th, and also Monday afternoon to 5 p.m. closing on the 21st. Now, in between, I will have various hours, and I will have those hours posted outside of the village manager's office for those folks to know. If there is an issue with when I'm here in the afternoon or the morning, whichever day, and you can't make it in those times, give me a call so we can set up a special time so I can meet with you, at least receive that paperwork so that you'll be complying. If you need to make a special arrangement because of whatever your situation is, your schedule, you can call me at the village office, 630-592-6077. And I think that's all. I just want people to know, kind of prepare, and we'll get it done, even if we have to have special arrangements. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move to the trustees report. Trustee Ciala. Sounds good, but I can't hear you. There you go.
I would just like to take a moment to wish everyone a safe and happy Thanksgiving to you and your families. Be safe, do what you can do to enjoy each other, but ultimately stay safe. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Trustee Tucker.
There was a lot of issues on the ballot tonight that I want to clarify. First of all, the gas station, I have no problems with the convenience store selling beer and wine now that we've set it up. What I do have a problem with is that it's a gas station. And being a mother against drunk drivers, I couldn't support that, selling liquor and alcohol at a place where you also have vehicles going through. The tent issue, I have no problem with the tent going up. I think it's a great idea for a business, and I know he needs that to thrive. But I made a promise to the residents that were afraid to speak up due to the clients of Fuel and Cream giving them backlash if they spoke up. I told them that I would bring up their issue of where the tent was at. They did not like the location, and they asked if the location didn't change, if I would please give a vote to say that, I was against the location of the tent. I'm not against the tent. I think it's a wonderful thing, and I think it's an improvement for our village to do that. It was just the location I was against. As a board member, I want to address the road issues. As a board, we're volunteers. We don't have any control over where the funds are coming from or the finance for those projects. Our village as a whole, I've been on a lot of different, involved with a lot of different villages. Our village works really hard to get funds and grants and state money to do these projects, but their hands are tied too. They can only get a certain amount, and they can only do it, and they have to do it in a large order. Previous boards obviously didn't think ahead. This one is. Our village is thinking ahead 3 or 4 years and even 5 years down the line to make sure those roads do get done in a process. They promised you on the referendum they would do what they did. They're trying very hard. And as a board member, we're all going to try to get both Maple, which those concerns on the flooding was a big issue, and St. Charles. We understand your frustrations and how you got rolled down the street. There's a lot of, unfortunately, street funds that got moved because we didn't have the funds. And as we said, as a board, we're going to try to get it done for you next year, but we can't make any promises. We didn't win the lottery, as he said. We don't have the funds to say, oh yeah, it's going to be done, but we will definitely keep, you in the loop, because that seems to be what your main issue was, that you didn't get the conversation of why your roads weren't done in the past, or you weren't getting the information of why you got moved off the list from 2020. I think that's a main issue, that we need to keep the people of Villa Park in a communication loop, and if you have questions, to make sure they get answered. So that is my point on it. Most of all, I want to wish everybody a safe and healthy Thanksgiving. I'm I know it's going to be different for a lot of families not being able to get together. I know that a lot of them are talking that they're going to be doing Zoom Thanksgiving, which is a new concept to me, but I just wish everybody a healthy and safe Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Trustee Wagner.
Thank you, President Bolthus. First off, I just wanted to offer kudos to Triton YMCA, their partners, all the volunteers. I'm sure you, President Bolthus, and Clerk Korniecki, to say about that, but it was just remarkable how many people showed up for that event, which was held at Jefferson Middle School. They plan on doing additional nourished and healthy events, and also want to offer kudos to the Villa Park Police. Without them, we would not have been able to control that traffic that was occurring there. So I want to thank them for that. I want to mention this just to folks who are maybe cooking their turkeys in oil this Thanksgiving. Just want to remind them that they should not be pouring oil down the storm drains or down their, down your drains. I talked to Jim Listman, who is the director at Salt Creek Sanitary District, and they do have a receptacle, a 300-gallon receptacle to collect cooking oil. They're open from 8 to 3 during their normal business hours. They'll be closed for the holiday, but Monday morning afterwards, you can drop off your cooking oil, and that is used for biodiesel. And this was a project that the Environmental Concerns took on with Scarce to get a receptacle located there. So dispose of it responsibly and take it to Salt Creek Sanitary District. Just want to offer my thanks to the Chamber of Commerce, to the Boy Scouts, Matt Schmidt, all the folks who came out and put trees up and lighting up on the, just looks beautiful. It's incredible what they're doing. I know there's more to come. So I also want to remind folks that this coming Saturday, which is the 28th, is Small Business Saturday. We hope that every Saturday is Small Business Saturday, but just really important for us to support our small businesses. And Small Business Saturday is one way to highlight our local businesses. So I hope that folks will, go out and patronize our local businesses. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Cazone.
Thank you, sir. A couple things. I'd also like to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. Hope stay safe, social distance. It's going to be an unusual one this year, but enjoy it as best you can while staying safe. There will be no Community Pride Commission meeting. It's been canceled for this month. We will have one the fourth Tuesday in December at 5 o'clock at City Hall. And lastly, Thanksgiving on Thursday, the annual Dan Gibbons Turkey Trot. It will virtually, you can still sign up for it. You download an app on your phone, you can run, and it'll give you some words of encouragement as you go along on your phone. DanGibbonsTurkeyTrot.com is the website. And like I say, you can sign up all the way up until Wednesday night, I believe. Enjoy Thanksgiving and see you next month.
Trustee Murphy.
No, I'm just going to ditto everyone's happy and safe Thanksgiving greetings, and be safe, enjoy, watch some good movies, eat lots of food, and be safe, and see where we land next year at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Patrick.
Hi, good evening. Thank you. Just a couple of things really quick. This Thursday at 8:45 p.m. at 39 West Madison Street is the Phillip family exterior illuminations. Andy and his family do an amazing job of putting a fantastic holiday lighting display. So if you've got a chance, again, at 8:45 this Thursday, Andy and his family will be doing their annual illumination. It's quite the spectacle to see. So anyways, with that being said, I want to thank our first responders again for their hard work and devotion to duty. It's not an easy time for them either, and they are doing an amazing job. And lastly, from my family to yours, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, riding down to the Village Hall tonight, I noticed all the Christmas decorations that are already up. It's a little earlier. I think that probably has to do with everybody trying to brighten their spirits a little bit because of this COVID going on. So it's kind of nice to see that. I let my wife put the lights out around my house, so she likes to do it, and I like it that she does. But we haven't turned them on yet. We don't turn them on until after Thanksgiving. So this is going to be a different Thanksgiving one. None of us have ever experienced like this before. Very unusual and very hard on some families when they're not able to get together with all their extended families and all their loved ones. But it's up to us as residents and citizens to get through this COVID pandemic that we have. We can do it. We can lower the numbers if we all just follow the rules until the vaccine gets out here. And I don't think most of us will see if we're healthy and young or healthy and a little older like I am. We probably won't. We're not on the top of the list for the vaccine. Probably not till, from what I gather, not until maybe springtime if we're lucky. They're going to concentrate on the ones they should, the people in the nurses and the people in the hospital who have direct contact with infected people, first responders, fire and police. And we haven't seen the list yet after the first responders. The CDC is going to do a little dictating on that, who they would like to see get their vaccines first. I was on the phone this morning with the DuPage County Health Department, and they're working on their planning for the distribution. But still, it comes from the CDC to the state and then to the county for the distribution. So, but they are prepared and continue to be prepared for it. So when the vaccine does get here, so. On the call this morning, we know our positivity rate is still 14.5%. That's higher than it was in March when we had to close down when the pandemic first started. But it has been going down. It was up above 16% last week. So like I said, the only thing we have right now is to follow the rules: masks, distance, wash your hands. So the little bit more information on the virus. The average age of people now who are infected is down to 40 years old. When it was first came about, it was up in the 70s, but it's been coming down to lower age. It's the 29 to 30 and 20 to 39-year-olds and the 40 to 59-year-olds who are tied for the highest rate of infection in the county right now. So they ask us also to remind you, if you do get a call from a contact tracer, please, you probably heard the ads on the radio. They've been running ads for the DuPage County contact tracers. Please answer the call and answer the questions for the health department, figure out if there's any special areas which they should be concerned about. And as Trustee Wagner mentioned, the new test site was opened in Villa Park today. We all saw it on the TV. I drove by there a little later this afternoon, and there were quite a few cars out there. So I'm kind of glad that we have one on this side of the county. We don't have to just all go to the county fairgrounds to have a test. So please, and as Trustee Wagner mentioned, the Tri-Town YMCA with their hunger drive. This last Friday, I was amazed on the number of cars lined up down the street and the need that's out there for food. You know, I think we did what, 500 they passed out on Friday, and some were turned away. So it was really something depressing and good to see at the same time that they were able to get some food, but depressing that there were so many people in need. So with that, just to say happy Thanksgiving. Our next board meeting is December 7th. We'll be a Zoom on that. And the other one for this would be, what is it, December 21st is our second meeting in December. Trustee Wagner's got his hand up. I think he wants to.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Very quickly, and this is an issue that Trustee Patrick had raised, and just like to chime in on this as well. If we could get some sort of report on the backyard chicken pilot program, just to see how that's going. I think some of us got emails from residents who have concerns, would like to see it expanded, would like to see it made a permanent program. So I think it would be beneficial for the board to hear how the program's going. I realize that's going to take some gathering of information, maybe for our next board meeting. If we could hear something about that, I'd appreciate it. And this is something that Trustee Patrick had mentioned as well.
Yeah, we all got that email. So I think staff is going to work on some report for us. So putting some information together. So, okay.
Thank you.
With that, I think we'll have a manager's report if he has anything.
Thank you, Your Honor. I believe Director Argillis has put together some information on the pilot program. And I think what we could do is put that in hard copy and put it in your mail on this Friday or Wednesday, so that you can have a hard copy of how successful the program is, and some plans that I think staff intends to bring back this particular program and discuss it in January and February as well, and have plenty of a discussion at that time. And then, Your Honor, I just want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving and be safe, and we'll see you on December 7th.
Okay, thank you. Just on the chickens thing, my neighbor kind of behind me and over a couple houses, he has chickens. I don't hear them. There's no problem. But I did caution them. I saw one of the foxes walking through my yard heading toward that chicken coop. Because if you have them, be very careful. That fox look real healthy. So they are in Villa Park, and so are the coyotes. So make sure your chicken coop is well secured. So with that, we'll have a motion to adjourn.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Bob, is there a website where that oil thing is at, so they know where the location is?
Yes, you can go, if you go to Scarce, if you go to the Scarce website, there's a list of all the places where you can drop it off. And of course, Salt Creek Sanitary District is one of them.
Okay, they have an address, right, on where those locations are?
Yes, they do. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Tucker, second by Kazone.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, with that, we're adjourned. We're back on the.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.